Hello everyone and welcome to another car profile where we're looking at the Ford Mustang Gr.3 car. Now if you're not subscribed already, please do subscribe. We do these car profiles every single week and get released on Friday or Saturday. Now this Ford Mustang Gr.3 car has a V8 engine. It's a beastly car, of course. The Ford Mustang known for its American muscle. Front-engined rear wheel drive, and you do rev this car with its 6 gears. Now, this isn't actually a real-life GT3 car. It's actually a Vision Gran Turismo car, essentially. There are versions of a Ford Mustang GT3 car that do exist, but this isn't one of those. Now, there is only one livery for this car, and you are seeing the balance of performance figures in the background. 513 brake horsepower with 1,313 kilograms of weight across all 3 balance of performance specs that are available at the moment. This car, you do rev this car. It does suffer from power oversteer, and it does suffer from understeer as well, because the car feels very weighty indeed. Let's jump into this car profile test, and let's have a look how it handles itself. First up at Laguna Seca. This is the low-speed bot test track that we have chosen for all these tests. Going into turn 1, actually felt not too bad at all. Now, I stay in second gear here just to keep the stability, and you can see a little bit of a wiggle there on exit from that power oversteer. Now, we're racing the Porsche 911 here. That has the fastest time at the moment in terms of fastest laps, but not necessarily optimums. And as we go through Sector 1, we are under a 10th down on the Porsche 911, so not too bad, really, to be honest with you. Coming up to this left-hander, the car really did struggle on this left-hander. I did find that it just didn't want to turn. I was having to change gears and then suffering with power oversteer on the exit. The kink coming up on the left-hander here. I did suffer with a bit of understeer. It was very hard to actually get this right without going off onto the dirt there. Heading up towards the corkscrew then, we're going to go hard on the brakes. The brakes did actually seem fairly okay in this car as we slowed the car down nicely. It did suffer a little bit on the corkscrew with oversteer, especially at this moment. And there you go, we see it again there with the power oversteer. We're half a second down on that Porsche 911, so it looks like we're not going to beat it in terms of fastest laps. Now remember what I always say with these car profiles. We are actually looking at the Optimum in the end, and you can see the Optimum down at the bottom. We compare against fastest laps because I can show you the fastest laps. I can't show you an Optimum lap. But we're going to head towards the line then. Let's see how far off we are from this Porsche 911 as we cross the line with a 121.914. Now we do 10 fast laps in the end, including the one flying lap. So let's see where the Optimum time ended up then, because we had a few more laps to do there in the Ford Mustang. In the top 10? No, it doesn't feature at all. In fact, you can see at the top there, the Porsche was actually P2 with that Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo in P1. So we're looking for a low 121 there to be really up at the front. It's P14 in the end with a 0.7, so 7 tenths off that pole position. So yeah, it's a bit off there, and it is to do with the handling. Just a slight oversteer and understeer aspects that the car suffers with depending on what part of the corner you are on. We've done 21 cars now. You can see that there. The leaderboard is starting to fill up. And this is why the video is a bit late, to be honest with you. I had to add all the next positions in terms of the graphics. Let's go to the next track test then, which is going to be Suzuka, of course, where we're looking at the medium speed bot test. Now, coming into turn 1, this car handles turn 1 very nicely indeed. It did give you a bit too much confidence sometimes. I did go wide a couple of times as well, but on exit, no problems at all as we go into the S's. Obviously, this is all about handling, but if you're in the right gear or have the right frame in terms of the car and setup, it does work well. Now, with BOP, it's a default setup, of course, but sometimes the default setups work very well. Going through this right-hander then, let's look at where we are here. We're 2 tenths down on that Toyota Supra, which is currently the fastest car here at Suzuka. Continue on through that. Didn't really suffer through that left-hander at all. Where I did start to suffer was on curbs, and going through here, you'd expect the front end to just stick, but every time I went through on any of these curbs, it would just bounce in a really weird way, as if it was too hard on the suspension, and that's caused a little bit of oversteer and freakish, weird, just sort of problems with the car, really. Going to the hairpin then, slowed down very nicely, had to short shift a second, and we still suffer with a bit of power oversteer there as we come out of that corner. But bumps really are impactful in this car, and you do have to be careful of that. So using all the curbs is not really something you can do compared to other cars. So we're going to head towards Spoon then. Spoon wasn't too bad, to be honest with you. It is a bit of a struggle in this car with mid-speed corners. We go out very wide there. But once you get it rotated and turned, it's not too bad. And I would argue the power oversteer, the little spin of the wheels that you get, does help with the turning to help reduce that as well. So you really have to be kind of abusive with the throttle mid-corner to get that extra rotation to get out of a corner. Head towards at 130R then as we go into here. Around, what, 143 there, miles an hour. We have seen 150 before, so it definitely does struggle in terms of downforce, or at least getting the car turned in, which is what I was talking about with that understeer. We go through the Casio triangle, a little bit of power oversteer there on exit. I'm going to head towards the line then. Are we going to get a 159.0, essentially a 158 to beat it? No, we're not. We're going to be 7.5 tenths down there on the Toyota Supra, and that is the fastest lap here on lap number 8. But as we were discussing before, we look at optimum times when we are looking at the leaderboard. Does it go into the top 10? No, it doesn't. It's quite far off there, it looks like then, with a 159.3 there being the bottom end of that top 10, with a couple of cars there making it into the 58s. We go to the next part of the leaderboard. So P14 once again for the Ford Mustang. So it's sitting like bang in the middle, but a 0.4 there. So it's what, 6 tenths off the lead there. But in terms of the majority of cars, it is quite close in the grand scheme of it. So not too bad at all with the Aston Martin DBR9 GT1 car making up the back of the field. That's going to be it in terms of Suzuka then. Of course, that leaderboard is going to start filling up as we continue this into 2024. Let's go to our high-speed circuit then, which is Bathurst. Now, obviously, Ford race at Bathurst a lot. So, and we know this car is a little bit high speed from Beat the Meta. So let's see what it can do in terms of Bathurst then. We go through turn 1. Didn't really suffer too much with that bump, which is really weird because it suffers with bumps everywhere else. But even so, it made it out that corner absolutely fine. It did suffer with some power oversteer occasionally. But as we head towards the sector 1 here, we are actually up there on that Lexus RCF as we go in to the right-hander then, looking to slow the car down here as we go through there. A little bit of power oversteer on exit then. Got to be careful of that as we head up the hill here then, or mountain should I say, in towards the lefty. I actually really like this left-hander. It's unusual for cars to like this left-hander, especially front engine rear-wheel drive. But as we leave that corner, not too bad at all. It settles itself down nicely. I think the weight really helps there. Going through here, a bigger lift than normal, and we still suffer a bit of understeer as we look to go down the hill and through this left-hander. We are going to have to lift a lot here. Some cars you can do that flat, remember. And as we go to the crest of the hill here, going to have to slow down and really let off for a while there. Suffer with a bit of understeer, that weight just shifting up at the front. Going down here though, this is where it really gets stability. The weight of the car really settles it in under braking, and as we go into the left-hander, no issues there at all as we go through there. We are 2 tenths down on that Lexus. Of course, that is the new fastest car based on the previous car video. So in towards the left we go and continue on out of there. No real dramas on this particular lap. I did suffer with some though, I will say that, but not as much as you expect actually with the suffer of power oversteer everywhere else. So I'm going to head towards the end of this sector then. What are we going to be up or down on that Lexus? Let's have a look. 4 tenths of a second down, so it did struggle a little bit there in sector 3 as we continue towards the chase and in towards the braking zone we go. Dropping down to second gear, clip the curb, off we go out of that corner. That was a short shift there as well. As we continue on through, that's to stop the power oversteer, of course. As we head towards the line, look for that tree on the right-hand side, slow it down nicely, and you did have to be careful next exit here. Power oversteer was a big problem here. Do we get any there? Yes, a little bit of a wiggle once again to head towards the line. What lap time is this going to be? It's, oh, it caught up to the Lexus a little bit at the end there. So only just under 4 tenths down on that Lexus. Not too bad of at all in terms of performance there for this Ford Mustang. Let's have a look at that Optimum leaderboard then. And it actually increases there, so you can see it is a top speed car, which is probably why it did so well at Fuji in Beat the Meta. So P9 there for the Ford Mustang Group 3 car. It's a little bit of way to go to the top, but actually it's doing pretty well compared to its previous performances at other circuits as we continue on through this leaderboard as we get into the 202s there for the majority of the field, with the Audi R8 LMS making up the rear and the back of the pack there in terms of P21 currently. Now remember, there are a lot of cars to still come here. We'll talk about that at the end of the video, of course, because you can vote for the car you want to see next in terms of these car profiles. Let's jump to a fuel test then. Now, Mustangs in real life are known for eating the fuel for days because they normally have 5-litre V8s. We don't actually know the displacement in this particular car. Now, top left, we've got Fuel Map 1 with automatic. Bottom left is Fuel Map 3 on automatic. So that suits automatic and also manual in terms of the top left one. We then got half shift, which is the best way to save fuel, as we know. And bottom right, we've got the emergency saving, of course, half shift plus Fuel Map 3. All we've done here is accelerate out the pits, do whatever test we need to do there, and then get towards the line. So this tests fuel and also a bit of performance when we do fuel save. So top left is the first one to cross the line then. Of course, we can see that here. Just under 25 seconds. Top right, it's then the next one. So that's got what? Come with that 7% fuel saved there. Top right, and it loses 0.3 of a second. Interestingly, of course, it is on the bottom left next, where it's another, well, it's a second off the actual one at top left there, and it's saved about the same. So it shows your fuel map is worse at saving fuel. As we go to the bottom right then, where the emergency fuel is saved there, and just a little bit after the one on the bottom left. And look how much more fuel we saved. Another 7% there. So overall, what did we save there? 15% fuel overall. Right, we've got a lot of charts coming. I did get asked for another table, but I had a look at that, and I'm going to play around with it first, and I think there might be too many tables at this point. I did say it's coming on the website. But there, look at that. P2 overall, and it does actually not use that much fuel. It's actually ahead of a lot of cars there. So the Ford Mustang, weirdly, is quite fuel efficient, which is a bit unusual for me to say that. A fuel efficient Ford Mustang. Maybe it's got an EcoBoost engine in. I don't know. But there you have it. So, yeah, it's P2 at the moment. Good performance, and it doesn't use that much fuel. So that's very interesting to see from the Ford Mustang. Maybe a car I will use next time there is a fuel race. Let's see. So we're going to go to the next test that we did in terms of the fuel. It's the half shift, this one. So this is manual shifting at the halfway point. It actually drops down the leaderboard here. That shows you it does need the revs in terms of performance. However, in terms of fuel usage, once again, it's very much, you know, better at fuel than other cars that surrounded it. Here's P11 to P20 then. Again, you can see this leaderboard. Of course, pause this video at any time if you want to just judge the tables a bit more. But we're having to fit a lot of data in all at the same time in this car profile. Right, what we're going to do next, of course, is then go to the fuel map 3, I believe is the next test. Let's jump to that now. Yeah, we go. So, but again, back up into P2. So you can see it's not impacted by dropping that engine power. It still doesn't use that much fuel. The Aston Martin, of course, we know uses, well, not a lot of fuel at all when it's in 6th gear, of course. So it's very much up there. When you're using all the revs, it can perform very well, and it still doesn't use that much fuel. So it's very interesting to know that in terms of the Ford Mustang. But what we saw with the half shift, of course, was that it was then impacted in terms of power. So you do have to rev this car. And if you do short shift, you're going to suffer in terms of performance. Is that the same in terms of the fuel map 3 and half shift? Yes, it's the exact same there. So 25.8, so it's 2/10 off that Ford GT. Other cars come into play there in terms of fuel saving. However, once again, it's the highest there, 69, isn't it? But the Z4's up there with 70, but slightly slower. So it doesn't use that much fuel, this car. It really doesn't. So it's an interesting car that maybe can be used in a fuel race. A Mustang and a fuel race. Who would have thought? Not me. And yeah, that's an interesting outcome to this test. That is for sure. As the McLaren 650S there, sitting right at the bottom in terms of performance, in terms of that fuel saving. Right, that's all the fuel saving and tests all done for you. Of course, I have said there's going to be a lot more coming on the website. I'm going to have a week off actually very soon, and another 2 weeks after that. So I've got a lot of time coming up where I can actually get the website sorted finally, and then get all that data out for you. All the additional data that you haven't seen yet that I've actually stored. Now this first tyre test then, this is on the oval circuit. You hadn't already guessed, of course. And what we're doing here is we're going around the oval and just testing the tyre wear. Okay, this is little human interaction, and we're waiting for the first tyre to end or be depleted, which is normally the right rear tyre, and we're seeing that now. And all we're doing is speeding on around here, waiting for that right rear tyre to deplete there, get to 0%. There we have it. And we add up lap 1, which is the out lap, lap 2, which is a flying lap, and then, of course, whatever time's left here, which is the 13.494. We're also going to do another tyre test. This is, of course, the circuit tyre test. And what we do here, essentially, is we're going to have more human interaction. We've got braking this time, steering input, of course, and accelerating out of corners. So it does add more elements that can fail or cause issues with the test, of course. But we've advanced to lap number 5 now. We've gone round 5, or we're on our 5th round this circuit as we go into this right-hander then, and our tyres just ran out there on that bottom left there. Oh, sorry, front left tyre, but at the bottom left hand side of the screen. Once again, we had all those times up, including the 27.362. You can see it at the center of your screen. And then we get an overall time of how long the tyres last. So, of course, on the oval, it's all to do with weight, which is like what it was in GT Sport. Does it fit anywhere there? No, it does not appear there at all, does the Ford Mustang, which does explain a lot, because I did say it does feel heavy, so potentially it is due to that weight. It's actually P12 there, P12 in the end. So slightly better than some of the circuit performances it did, but even so, I don't think that's actually very good for an FR car here on the oval circuit, if I'm brutally honest. Definitely much better choices in terms of tyre wear. Right, what we're going to do next is, of course, go to the tyre test for the circuit. With more human interaction, of course, that can impact the test results. We've not done all the cars yet, so that's not actually an improvement in terms of P8. That's actually quite far down. If it's behind MR cars especially, you start to see this issue. Plenty of cars up ahead of it in terms of that. I've only done 11 cars here, so I do expect the Ford Mustang to be towards the bottom end of the test. The Ferrari at the moment being the bottom end. I am going to get all the tests done for this circuit test. Don't you worry, it is coming, but I had to do all the charts this week in terms of the update going from 21 to 30. Top speed, 171 miles an hour. It's definitely up there in terms of that top speed. Not as high as I thought it would be, though. I definitely thought it would be 172, 173. But it's not. It's just sitting at 171. We can see here some of the more average cars, but you say the average BMW M6 was the fastest at Bathurst for a while. Then the Lexus, which has the same top speed there, did the exact same thing. And top speed is taken from Bathurst, by the way. The fastest lap at Bathurst, we take that top speed. That is logged there as we get towards the chase. Right, what we're going to do next then is the summary. Where does it sit overall in terms of the 3 Optimum times together? Because it's using the same bot. We just combine this and we can say what is the meta car and what isn't. It's not a meta car because that would be the top 6. But it is P11. It's P11 overall, so it definitely sits in that mid-pack. It's actually surrounded by American cars, weirdly. They're all around the same place. So take that what you will. But yeah, it's definitely there in the mid-pack. That is for sure. The Aston Martin DBR9 GTU1 bringing up the rear there in the end. Now, if you haven't seen your favourite car profile yet, or your favourite car in a car profile, should I say, this is your chance. In the comments, write down the car you want to see next. If I've done Beat the Meta already for it, I'll just add the folks up, and then when it beats the Beat the Meta car, I'll do that. Otherwise, if I haven't done Beat the Meta, I will do that first. And guess what, folks? If you haven't seen the Beat the Meta for this Ford Mustang, you need to go see it now. And it's right there for you to pick. So please do go check out that video if you haven't seen it already. There's another video there to check out if you want to see something different on the channel. And that's what we do here. Lots of different things. So do click my logo to subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. And I hope to see you in another video or live stream again very soon.